We're back now. So yes, Little Murder debuts his 7 Pounds of Pressure along with Mercedes. It goes off like gangbusters. They do an incredible job as a duo, but it also let it be known to the rival gang that's out for Little Murder that he's not to be messed with. But also, now they take it as if um, Mercedes has picked a side, and including her neighbor who had always had her back, and they had some cute flirting, on and off flirting. He kind of goes sour with her soon after that. Like, oh, you're picking that side? All right. Moving forward, we soon discover that Uncle Clifford was crying at that particular time because the hospital had finally gotten back to him with an update with his grandmother's status, and she says she didn't take the water, meaning that she survived. So they all have a touching moment between Mercedes and Little Murder and Uncle Clifford crying, and just it's a very heart scene where they're all expressing vulnerability, but also because you can see that he was um, grieving and thinking the worst, that he would be left without his grandmother. So they all kind of support him in that sense. Now we go through Keyshawn's small, I guess, saying her last goodbyes to everybody, just her most closest of intimate friends. She stops off at ever so often to pick up either money or say goodbye. She's getting things ready. She had told Derek that she was going to leave her kids at her sister's, her half sister's place. And she says they have a warm good sense of goodbye with Little Murder, who's about to embark on his own tour. It won't be, I think it's with Tina, yes, but nonetheless, it's like the big official tour. And he still gives her the money that was owed to her that Rome didn't really fulfill because he was a creep and a predator. And it's only more money for her to sustain being wherever she's going to move to with her children. Everybody kind of was in tow with the plan. Haley got her the passports and everything. She has a car. She has the getaway car. Now a lot of people said, like, why does she keep doing that, like saying goodbye? Maybe because, again, she probably thought she would never see these people again. Now the worst thud that happens here is, again, a lot of people said this, knowing that you don't have the best of relationships with your stepmother, and she never had an issue with her stepsisters, but the daughters are going to listen to their mother, which is her stepmother, and that woman always has some issue when it came to Keyshawn. Maybe because she reminded her of her, and we never know, did they stay together? I feel like that's something that needs to be explored for season 3. Like, did Keyshawn's dad stay with the stepmama? Because I'm under the impression, because we never see him again, did they stay together or did they get a divorce? I'm under the assumption that yes, because she still reverts to that home. It was a part of her teenage years until she got pregnant with Derek's, baby. But the fact that she thought that she could entrust this woman, who always had, like, obviously some issue with her, she called Derek and told her, like, oh, I saw the baby, because she has, like, a little boy and now a little girl, and she's like, she has the nicest of hair, and always making references to hair, like, as if, again, these colonization's way of thinking of, like, if you have loose curls, your hair is blessed, and if your hair is hard edged or kinky, it's considered quote unquote bad hair. So for whatever reason, she knew something was up. She had to know something was up with Derek and her, and she totally, like, yanks the rug from underneath her and called Derek. So now she knows. He was like, oh, it's funny, I called him about to compliment his child's hair, and he said he didn't know that you were, had so many errands and were running this and running that. And he knew that she was plotting to leave. So what does Derek do in his white privileged self? Calls Child Protective Services on Keyshawn and brings up the last report that she had gotten from the pediatrician and blamed it all on her. And some incredible violent scene breaks out between the social worker and herself, and she can't take it no more. Again, a person can only take so much abuse before they blow up, and she just loses it and goes to town on Derek, wails on him, but now she looks like she's the aggressor. So they tell her that, they're going to take her kids away. Now, if she has access to her children, it will be, with a supervised visit. And they arrest her. And oh my God. And all of a sudden, the dreams that she had, the aspirations that she had of living a life away from this monster now just goes kaput in less than 3 seconds. And of course Derek's there smirking like an asshole, not for nothing. And also the way that she's treated, she's not only detained but handcuffed, put in a vulnerable state as a woman, and they knee her. Like, I felt like that was a special point that they wanted to highlight of how African American men and especially women are treated in this country. And he's standing there knowing that this entire time he had been abysmal to her and her children. He's the culprit of why that child has so many injuries. And so, oh my God, you're devastated for this character. And now you're questioning what's going to happen in the 3rd season, because she's locked in for season 3 and also Derek. And she gets one phone call. She calls Diamond to let him know, like, in her own way, in a cryptic way of speaking, talking about fairy tales and whatnot, and still asks him, like, is he willing to fulfill whatever he had proposed to her in the 1st season, at the end of season 1, if he was still willing to go to bat for her. And he says yeah. And he gets prepared and everything, but we'll get to that cliffhanger towards the end. When Clifford and Little Murder have some intimate time, he still lets it be known that he doesn't know 100% he wants to go on tour. And he's like, are you crazy? Do you want to stay here? It's like, look, I'm old enough, and you can see that there's a difference between ages. Clifford is like in his 40s, and he just had his 40th, and Little Bird is like probably in his 20s. And so, like, I don't play myself into thinking that this was going to be more than what it was. So I have my grandmother back. I have my pink back in my hands. That's all I need. But he kind of makes it also seem as if he can disattach if he needs to. And that's kind of heartbreaking to Little Murder, because he obviously, you can tell, has deeper feelings. But I think Clifford has it too, but he doesn't want to cop to it because he just runs the risk of being hurt. So now, as Mercedes in her home, she gets this unexpected knock at the door, and it's a big poster size of one of her photographs that Farrah had shown in her, showcased in her exhibition, and followed by a huge check. And she realizes, like, whoa, is this mine? And it's like, well, you were my muse, so I think you are deserving of your royalties for using your likeliness. And so she's like, is this how it works in the art world? Like, she's amazed and flabbergasted, but she's like, I hope you didn't do this because the coach pulled out and didn't give me what I was due. And she was like, well, you were due that. And she gives her humanity and her respect for who she is as a performer, which kind of builds up her self-esteem, because she goes back to the gym that was soon to close, and she decides to put in a stripper pole. So I don't know if that's under our indication that she may not open a gym, or a gym of a different sort. I think she might now move into the territory of teaching people how to get on a pole, which is lucrative too. So it's smart of her, I know she wanted to go more of the PG side, but hey, If you know you're good at something, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there's an instance where she's spinning, because now she's gotten back her confidence and spinning on the stripper pole in her gym, and she's doing like almost like this she woman, Supergirl kind of move. And Pastor Woodbine, Patrice, interrupts her, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "Well, I have to now being mayor, I have to visit the small businesses, but this don't look no gym. Why is this stripper pole here?" They have small talk as mother and daughter, and then lets her be known that Shell has made the commitment of rehabilitation and that the child, Tarika, is going to need looking after. Now, she would normally do it, but now that she's not only bishop for her pulpit, but also mayor, she has no time. So she grants, finally, what Mercedes has been wanting since season one, is to have access in raising her own biological child, Tarika. And there's this very touching scene that kind of breaks your heart. Um, Now, the casino referendum did go through. So now Haley's very full of herself and she calls up Georgie and lets her know, you know what? I was okay with 10, but now I think I want 15. And Georgie, who's the tycoon here, lets her be known, you missed your opportunity, girl. I told you I was willing to only give you 5 million, and you should have jumped at the chance, because now turns out that she worked something out with Kyle and Corbin, and they're gonna move. She was like, wait a minute, what? You still need the pink, because the pink is on the waterfront. Everybody knows if you're gonna construct a casino, it has to be in the waterfront. It's like, well, it doesn't have to be your waterfront. So they finagled something, Kyle and Corbin, to have the casino be put into that into their property, their known property. So they don't need the pink. And Haley is left with 0. So that is to complete egg on her face. So I loved it also that our Georgie character was like, "So you're out of luck, biatch." That was funny. I thought it was funny. Now our grandmother Ernestine, is back from the hospital, doing better. Back to her old ways of sassing Uncle Clifford and letting her know that she needs to change her panties, and that she's already planning her, homecoming party. He's like, "What are you talking about? You just got out of the hospital." And he's like, "I got the She wanted to say antibodies, but again, a lot of people thought like this, like, "I'm good. I don't need nothing else. I got the antibodies." And so, in plotting for her party, she invites Big L, and I think Duffy, to help out with her party plans. So now Uncle Clifford, who already fired Big L, now have this awkward moment. But you can see, again, regardless of what they've gone through, they're still very much family. And so Little Murder is still on the fence of perhaps touring, and he's not in the house. Uncle Clifford finds himself looking at old memories, and even perhaps even being visited by his mama, and letting him be known that, what you're doing is a huge disservice to yourself. And he's like, knowing what happened to you. So now we see that his mother died of AIDS for not having protected herself in her younger days, that she died from AIDS. But she was like,